If you're looking for a side hustle to make some extra money, have we got an episode for you. Brian Winch's side hustle of cleaning litter from parking lots turned into a full-time $700,000 a year business.
I've been cleaning up litter from parking lots, sidewalks, and landscapes at commercial properties since 1981. I provide a simple, daily, after-hours litter cleanup service year-round that's about as easy to do as a walk in the park. And I enjoy a six-figure income doing it.
Some people actually have been involved in the corporate world for decades, and they've just decided, they've had enough, and they want something that's less stressful and something that is really simple, and they can go out and build the business, into six figures, or just keep it simple and look for something to do in semi-retirement. So. But yeah, I mean, by and large, people are looking for a different opportunity, and this is kind of outside the box, if you will. And but it's very affordable, and it's simple to start and get going.
I'm Andy, host of the Inspired Money podcast and financial advisor at Runnymede Capital Management. We have Brian Winch back on the show. He's the author and creator of Cleanlots, America's simplest business. His company gets hired by property management companies to clean up litter from parking lots at office buildings and shopping centers. I don't know about you, but it drives me crazy to see cigarette butts, napkins, even a mask that someone's dropped or discarded on the ground. Cleanlots picks that stuff up. Brian's first appearance in episode 150 was audio only, and it performed very well because many of you out there are looking to start a profitable side hustle. I'll share a link below if you want to listen to the Cleanlots origin story and get an overview of Brian's business. In this episode, we're going to get into the specifics of starting and operating this simple business from home, one that Brian says is almost as easy as going for a walk. Some people have even built six-figure businesses in as quickly as 2 years. I like litter pickup because it's low-tech and very localized. It's especially appealing if you like to work outdoors. And because litter pickup happens outside of normal business hours, it can be an ideal source of income to supplement your full-time 9-to-5. In this episode, you'll learn the upfront costs for launching a litter pickup business, how to narrow your focus to be exceptional, and the ins and outs of litter cleanup, including contracts, pricing, and more. Now let's get inspired with Brian Winch. Brian, it's so good to have you back on Inspired Money.
It's great to be back, Andrew.
Last time we spoke, it was about a year ago, and that was before I was doing video, so I'm excited to have you back so that people can see you. For those who haven't listened to that episode, as a recap, when you meet somebody new for the first time and they ask you, "What do you do, Brian?" How do you answer that question?
I clean up litter from parking lots, and I show other people across the country how to do the same and make extra money.
What's their response usually?
They go, "What? What are you talking about?" Sometimes they just say, "Okay, well, that's not for me." Other times they say, "What? I'd like to know more. Tell me how I can make money." Especially when you say it's almost as easy to do as going for a walk. And then basically I just ramble on for the next 3 to 5 minutes.
Brian, your Inspired Money episode, it really got an overwhelmingly positive response. And I think that it's a testament to both your business and your message. One takeaway was start small. You can start a side hustle and you can scale it to become a full-time business. I think 2, you need to know yourself so that you can do work that you enjoy. And 3, it doesn't require an expensive education or a lot of money to get started. So I really look forward to getting more tips from you on how people can get started in this business if they want to make extra money. But first, how about an update? Like, how has your business fared through the pandemic?
Actually, really well, surprisingly. I guess maybe I shouldn't be surprised because, my clients that are property management companies always want their properties maintained litter-free. The thing we discovered with the pandemic is that, number one, we are classified as an essential service. So while other types of businesses were shut down and deemed not necessary, ours was able to continue operating. And then in addition to the typical litter material that people for whatever reason have always just tossed on the ground, like cigarette butts, drink cups, candy wrappers, fast food wrappers. Now people, or back then when I guess about March or April, people started noticing all of the used PPE, like the masks and the sanitary wipes, and in some cases the gloves that people were just discarding in parking lots, especially outside grocery stores. And so obviously, property management companies, the businesses, the clientele that frequent those businesses, and even the neighboring community weren't too happy to see this material. So, there has never been a better time or more demand for our service than during this pandemic.
Since we last spoke, have you seen increased demand and growth in your business?
Yeah, actually, we were kind of stagnant for the last couple of years. We weren't really looking to grow the business much more because of our age. I just turned 61, and I'm actually kind of scaling back the number of hours that I do cleaning. We've got a whole crew of people, an army of people around the city that provide this work. But we were content with where the business had grown to. I mean, typically, we bill out $650,000 to $700,000 a year, just in cleaning litter from parking lots. But all of a sudden, we started getting contacted by various prospects, property management companies, asking us, to provide quotes at their properties. And so we've actually picked up probably more properties in the last 12 months than we have in probably the previous 36.
Wow, that is crazy. Well, I guess it's not totally surprising because I still walk around and see masks. I guess not as much gloves, but definitely I see masks sitting all over the place. And the property managers want that picked up because it looks terrible.
It looks terrible, but there's also the concern, from the general public as to how long the virus can live, on materials such as that. So nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to even go around it. Especially if this material is anywhere near the storefronts or the entrances to buildings, people are going to kind of avoid those areas. So, yeah, it's important, for the maintenance and security and the sanitation of properties to be maintained. And I think more than ever, our clients realize and recognize the importance of our service.
Have you had to hire more people or did you have enough capacity with your current staff?
Yeah, we had enough capacity. The people that work for us enjoy doing what they do, and oftentimes they're asking us, Brian, if you got another building, if you got another two or three, I can easily slide it in. We've got people that work for us part time and full time, whether it's during the week or on weekends, and in many cases, they have their own full time jobs, and they're doing this work for us kind of as a side hustle, and it works out well for everybody.
With the virus and concern about the virus and PPE, have you had to take extra precautions? Did you have to approach this kind of litter differently?
Yes and no. Yes, we need to make sure that we're always wiping down the inside of our vehicles, the steering wheels. It's not that we're touching any of this stuff. We simply walk up to any type of litter material, including the PPE, and just sweep it into our litter collection tool. I mean, it's not necessary to touch anything, and then just dump the material into the typical waste dumpster that's on site at all these properties. But just to make sure we're following the rules and keeping everybody safe, we brought in some extra practices where we told our people just to make sure you were using hand sanitizer as often as you can, or wash your hands, and at the end of the day just kind of wipe down any part of the vehicle that you may have touched, and but it wasn't necessary to wear a mask when you were working outside because our service is done early morning hours, after hours, where we're not coming in contact with any of the general public. So basically, it was just making sure that you just take that extra step and make sure your hands are clean and you're not touching your face, etc.
And it helps that you're working outside.
Exactly. And, we enjoy what we're doing. And that's one of the reasons, one of the things about this business is we all love working outdoors and, getting our job done and seeing the results from our work and getting that sense of satisfaction that we are making a difference, in the community.
Well, congratulations on the continued success of your business and the recent growth.
Thank you.
It's interesting that you supplement that business by selling your Cleanlots book, a manual for getting started. Can you remind viewers and listeners sort of your rationale? Because it's like a franchise, except you're not charging a franchise fee.
Exactly. It's not really a book. It's more of an operations manual that sets out and how to start and operate the business. And I also offer support, and that's free. I don't charge extra for that because it is such a simple business to learn and grow and scale. I mean, everyone's got their a different motivation for getting involved in this business, whether it's just to make a few extra $1,000s a month on the side while we're keeping your full-time job, or at some point people get into this and the goal all along is to turn it into a full-time business. And so but I offer the free support as my way of giving back to an opportunity that's provided so well for myself and my family. And it's not for everybody, but if you enjoy going for walks and being outdoors, it's not a difficult chore to do. It's like I say, with the tools that we use, it's almost as easy to do as going for a walk.
Well, I have to say that over the course of the last 14 months, I've done a lot more walking outside, and nobody paid me for it.
Well, but did you clean up any litter? So you're probably not getting paid for it.
Sometimes I did, just being
well, good for
a
you.
good citizen, I would pick up a napkin or pick up like a piece of plastic wrap or something and throw it away. But yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it like on a large scale.
So when you were out for your walk and you saw somebody toss their coffee cup to the ground, did you holler out to them, hey buddy, you dropped something?
I never caught them in the act, so I couldn't do that.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing, I mean, usually nobody ever does. These people are pretty inconspicuous, I guess.
So I do want to ask you, you mentioned, like, I know that you sell quite a number of these books. Who's it for? Because you mentioned last time we spoke, it's for all walks of life.
Yeah, and actually, I sell a fair amount of them. I'm not getting rich off this. It's just a way to make a few extra bucks to fund my retirement, whenever that may be. And I look back when I started this business when I was 21. I didn't have any of this information, and I had to learn from the school of hard knocks, if you will. And 4 years into it, when I was 24, I thought, what, this would be a great business opportunity for somebody like me, but other people as well that are in the same boat. Maybe they don't have a lot of technical skills, or I don't have much of an education. I barely graduated high school, not a lot of money in the bank. So it's a simple business to start, doesn't cost a lot of money. And I have a saying, if you work the business will work for you. And that's the key ingredient that, someone has to bring to the table when you start this business. And I probably think any type of business is you have to be committed and you have to work it. And if you run into a few roadblocks, you have to find a way around them and you just keep at it. And like I say, the 3 Ps, bring passion, patience, and persistence. And, I can't see why anybody who does that wouldn't be successful at this type of business wherever they are across the country.
Well, I was intrigued because you mentioned to me that one guy reached out to you kind of years later. he had not taken advantage of the support, but he let you know later on that I think he had a white collar job, and he said, "Oh yeah, doing this, I got some contracts from Walmart superstores and put my 3 kids through college." When you told me that, I have 3 kids, and I'm like, maybe I need to start picking up some litter.
Well, yeah, and that's right. Like I say, everyone's motivation is different, and he was happy with what he did for his employment, but he wanted something a bit different, and he enjoys getting out in the early mornings and providing the service. And like you said, and like I said before, he found a way to pay for his kids' college tuitions. Um, and I just recently found out from another student of mine who bought my book. I don't know, let's say 3 or 4 years ago. And ironically, he had a podcast and he was a teacher, and he was trying to find a way to supplement his income in the summer months when he's not teaching. And he started a podcast and he interviewed me, and he was so impressed with what I told him that he decided to start the business. And soon after, he gave up his podcast. And I was just talking to him recently because I've stayed in touch with him quite often. He reaches out to me for ask a lot of questions and my guidance, etc. And he recently told me that he has got roughly 120 properties, and he just gave his notice that he's leaving his teaching job and he's going to devote full time to the parking lot litter cleaning. And I love to hear those stories. I kind of felt guilty because we always do need good teachers out there, but he assured me it was time for him to move on.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be very fulfilling for you to hear those success stories.
It is. And so like I say, I'm happy. I'm content with what I do with the litter cleaning, and if I can also help other people across the country get involved in this as well, and more power to them. And I'm not out to I'm not going to become a millionaire, doing this. And the whole point is, I wanted to keep it affordable for the average Joe, as opposed to saying, okay, this is going to be a course and it's $1,995, and an additional consulting, is so much extra. That basically removes a lot of people that, like, including myself. When I started this business back in 1981, I wouldn't have had the money to get into a business like that. So that's why I price my products, for the reason that I do, and make my self available for the free support.
Well, I think both are very generous. Getting people started off on the right foot, and then also the free support. In offering that free support and talking to people who buy the book, are there characteristics or traits that you recognize? This person looks like they're going to be successful, and then this person isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, by and large, a lot of these people aren't happy with what they're doing for work right now for whatever reason, and they're looking to get out. I mean, maybe some people actually have been involved in the corporate world for decades, and they've just decided they've had enough, and they want something that's less stressful and something that is really simple, and they can go out and build the business, into six figures, or just keep it simple and look for something to do in semi-retirement. So. But yeah, I mean, by and large, people are looking for a different opportunity, and this is kind of outside the box, if you will. And but it's very affordable, and it's simple to start and get going.
So, Brian, for somebody who is interested in making some extra money on the side, what is the first step when getting started? Do you need to get your client first? Do you need to gear up first? Or do you need to step back and say, let's set up a business structure first?
Yeah, actually, set up a business structure. Get an idea as to what you're going to name your business, and you need to have all those ducks in a row. Before you can begin prospecting, because what has happened, if you think you're going to start prospecting right away, and you come across looking pretty amateur because you always want to portray or give that image of professionalism in all of your marketing materials and in your emails, the signatures, etc. You don't want to come across as somebody that your prospect is wasting time with. But yeah, you do those things, and then you begin your prospecting, and it's really quite simple to find your prospects. I mean, they're property management companies, and you just do various online searches for them. You can find them in business directories, etc. And then even getting started, you can do that very cheaply. You don't have to go out and invest a lot of money into a website to begin with. Actually, a great little mini website is your Google My Business listing, and all the search engines have a version of that. But I bring up Google because it's the biggest one, and so you claim that it's free, and it gives you a profile where prospects can find you, and it allows you to post images and create content and share that just as a website would. But I mean, that's all free, and that's what I tell people to do when they're getting started is grab that low hanging fruit first. Get listed in various local business directories and online directories, and of course with the Google My Business. And so while you're out prospecting, doing your part, compiling a list of prospects to contact, you're out there as well, and your prospects can even reach out to you and contact you to find out and get more information.
So do you not recommend that people try doing this as a sole proprietorship? Do you recommend setting up some sort of entity?
Well, actually, I tell people like that's how I started out. It's the quickest, simplest, easiest way quickest way to get started is a sole proprietorship. I wouldn't worry about liability because you will require comprehensive business liability insurance, and that's what it basically affords you the liability protection. But start out with the sole proprietorship, and the reason for that is you're working for yourself, and when you're first starting out, and maybe the money's tight coming in, you're able to take all that money and choose to spend it whatever way you want. Whereas if you incorporate, you in fact are working for the business or the corporation, and there's different ways or means that you have to keep track and how you're going to pay yourself and where the money's coming from. And in a lot of cases, when people are starting out in this business for the first time, it's their very first business that they've ever started. So it's just easier to keep things simple. And I make the recommendation, and I don't offer legal advice, but I just make the recommendation, sure, start out as a sole proprietorship. And then when the money's coming in, you can always decide to, change the business structure to, whatever.
Roughly, what do you estimate for the upfront costs for getting started?
Well, the cost of my book and the free support is $80. Low hanging fruit, depending on how you're set up at home. If you've got a scanner, if you've got a printer, you can create a lot of your own business forms. You can do a lot of the legal stuff, the permits, etc. on things like LegalZoom, for example, just from the comfort of your home. Business liability insurance, that's something that you need. It can run you, I don't know, $500, $700, $800 a year, but it is a cost of business, so you can write it off. But it affords you that liability protection. You don't want anybody suing you. Not that anybody will. But that's, and then there's simple hand tools. You don't need any power equipment. You can operate your business from home, like I say, from a home office. The tools themselves cost under $100 easily. Maybe under $75 to get started. So I have a checklist in my book. An 10-step action plan. If, in case you want to see, well, what do I do first, and what kind of steps should I follow? And then if you do have questions, my contact information is in the book. You just reach out, pick up the phone, or email me, and I'm happy to coach you.
How many people reach out to you? Does that take up a lot of your time?
No, it doesn't, because because of the price point, I guess, of my book. It's well under $100. A lot of people that buy my book probably have bought other books, like how to make money on foreclosures or how to do this, and they do so with good intentions. But they read the book and then they put it up on the bookshelf, and they think, one of these days, one of these rainy days, I'll start something. And maybe they're waiting for that one trigger point in their life that's going to say, okay, that's it. This is the time to start the business, and I'm going to start it now. And so, a good percentage of the people that buy my books, like I say, don't reach out to me. There's just a small minority that do. And I, I enjoy spending, 15, 20 minutes, a day with different people. My phone isn't always ringing off the hook. And it tends to be kind of the same people that stay in touch with me and reach out to me maybe, once or twice a month. And, I'm happy to talk to them because I can see their progress. And I love to hear their success stories. And I offer them the encouragement. And at some point, with their permission, I use them as testimonials on my website.
Yeah, that sounds like a win-win. So on the prospecting front, I really like about your business that there's a clear target, the property management companies. Can you get into the big ones, or do you really need to focus on the independents?
Well, keep in mind that the litter cleaning service is being done by somebody now. It has to be, obviously. But people notice that, some properties it's not done as well as others. The vast majority of the properties we service are small to medium size. And the good thing is they comprise the majority of commercial properties that are in any given city. And so they are often managed by small to medium-sized property management companies that tend to manage a portfolio of maybe a half a dozen to maybe 15, 20, or maybe even, we have about 20, 25 properties, and they make up the bulk of our clientele. There are in every city some large property management companies like, CBRE, JLL, Colliers International, and over the years we have worked for them, and we still do work for them. But the really huge ones, they tend to want or prefer to deal with large cleaning or landscape contract customers that can do everything, provide everything. And our experience with that arrangement is jack of all trades, master of none. They do a little bit of everything. It seems to be good enough, but it's not necessarily the very best. Because if you want to be the best litter pick contractor or parking lot litter cleaning contractor, you have to use the right tools, and it has to be done at the right time of day, early morning hours before the business is open. And some of our competitors or the contractors that do these massive projects, they're out there during the day, and it's hit and miss. They're going to miss a lot of stuff because the cars are parked on top of this stuff. We don't go after the big indoor mega malls or the big indoor shopping malls because they're done in-house. They have their own cleaning crew that are in-house, and they're always working during the day to maintain the property throughout the day. But we focus on the small to medium size retail strip plazas, maybe some office buildings, like medical, there are medical clinics, and some smaller industrial properties where you've got warehouse bays in the back and office space in the front.
Roughly what time in the morning do you start, and what time do you end, and then what time do you start in the after work hours?
Well, you've got a kind of a pretty good window of opportunity. I mean, I could say it's pretty much between the time businesses close and then they reopen the next day. But the best time really is to get out early in the morning. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those hours where you're cleaning, and it's less likely to for people to come by and maybe sit in the parking lot and toss their fast food wrappers or their empty beer cans, after you've cleaned the property. Having said that, it is possible to do a number of office buildings and warehouse properties, in the evening hours, because they tend to be located away from those the retail or the fast food properties, and and so we've been pretty successful servicing those types of properties if we wanted to, and in the past we have in the evening hours. But anything with a retail component, you're probably better off, in those early morning hours, and that works great for people that are starting out or doing this as a side hustle, because they just get up an extra, hour or two or whatever. And that's what I did when I started my business. I mean, I did the work, in those early morning hours, and then would go to my day job.
And how much time did it take before you eclipsed your day job, like money, and decided to do it full time?
I guess it was like 3 or 4 months. I was doing this on the side, and my clients liked the service and the customer service that I was providing for them, and so they started referring more work to me. I was getting calls from people that they had known, that are in the industry, or even from them themselves. I mean, maybe they managed 6 properties and they started me out at 1 or 2. And then they said, Brian, you know what? We've got some more properties here. Here are the addresses. Go out and take a look, and get back to us with prices. So I did that for a while, like I say, about 3 or 4 months, and then I was making more money just working 3 or 4 hours a day than I was working my full time job. And so it was a pretty easy decision for me to make, because I always did want to work for myself, and I enjoyed working outdoors.
It's nice that many property management companies are managing several different properties. So once you break into one, if you're doing a good job, there's an opportunity to expand within that client relationship. At the outset, how difficult is it to break in with your first customer?
Well, you know what? I was saying, there's no luck involved. You make your luck. So in some cases, you can pick up the phone and start prospecting, and bang, the first or second call, it just seemed to be a very opportune time for you to reach out to that person, because maybe they are having a discussion in their office that they weren't happy with their service provider, for the parking lot litter cleaning, and you happened to reach out to them. And so, yeah, and then they ask for more information. When I reach out, when I start prospecting, I call it warm calling now, not cold calling. I'm not trying to make a sale. All I'm trying to do is gather information, find out who is the individual that I need to talk to, who is the decision maker. And it could be a operations manager, it could be the senior property manager. And then basically I inform them how my service will benefit them. I can give them a cleaner litter free property for less money. And so there's no pressure to make a sale, and no pressure on them that they feel that, oh, he's putting me on the spot. No, I'm not interested. You just want to start educating and sending them some information as to how you're able to accomplish this, and then at some point, yeah, it might be that day, it might be that week, it could be a few weeks later, when they're ready, and they see an opportune time for them to try you out. They'll reach out to you, and give you maybe 1 or 2 addresses, and try you out at those properties. And then the biggest key to growing this business is the customer service, because anybody can clean, you know but the key to success in this business is, when we're out cleaning the property, if we notice some property damage, maybe a stop sign's been run over, maybe the building's been tagged with fresh graffiti, someone's dumped off a mattress and a large TV screen at the rear of the building by the waste bin. We communicate those issues to our clients, and they really appreciate that added value of us being an extra set of eyes for them. It makes their job easier, and they appreciate that information, and it helps to develop that business relationship and cement it, and so that they're more likely in subsequent months and years to want to continue doing more business with you or with us, as opposed to somebody who has the attitude, that's not our job, we're just here to clean, and that's it. And so one of the questions that comes into, if that's the attitude you're going to take, one of the questions that comes into your client's mind is, it was he even there? I mean, why didn't he let me know that, there's been graffiti on the wall, and I'm not too happy that I wasn't aware of this. And two of my tenants phoned me up complaining that there's been graffiti on the wall for the last week. So you have to think about those things, and it really isn't rocket science.
Yeah, it sounds like little things that can make a difference and add value. And I'm sure that those are things that you learned over 40 years, especially when you were the one picking up the litter. Is it difficult for you to instill that sense and responsibility in people that you hire?
Um, Not really. You point out that it is a necessary part of the job. And they will be watched, even if they're working by themselves, and there's nobody in that parking lot. The businesses are closed. There's no cars and everything, and they are being watched. And when I say that, a lot of the newer properties have CCTV cameras on the light standards or on the property, and occasionally property managers will review the footage when they come in first thing in the morning to see what was happening, after hours at their property, and they'll see you, or they won't see you if you don't bother showing up. The first thing in the morning when the businesses show up, they appreciate seeing a clean property. If they see litter material, they might mention it to the building operator that, hey, we've got a concern that, this work isn't being done. So, when you point those simple things out to the people that are working for you, and point out that, look, it's a simple job. If you enjoy the work, we can provide more work, as much as you can handle, so long as you do this. And you just take your phone out, and if you see graffiti, snap a picture, send it to the office, and we'll do the work for you. We'll forward it to our clients, and just let them know that this is what we noticed at your property. And, like, we've had people work for us, for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, because they enjoy the work. And yeah, it's something simple to do, and it's not like I say, it's not rocket science.
Brian, how do you charge? I think that you gave me a range of $30 to $60 per hour that it can work out to. You did make a point to say, don't charge by the square foot. So, what are some of the factors that come into play in your mind when it comes to pricing?
Well, you've got to actually physically walk the property, because no two are the same. I mean, even if you've got a prospect that will tell you, I've got two properties that are 125,000 square feet. Should they be the same price? That's not the case, because you've got to walk the whole property. So if you've got one property that's got an open parking lot with very few landscaped islands, it's going to be easier to see and clean, as opposed to one with the landscaped islands, where you've got to kind of walk around and make sure you're not missing anything. Maybe there's more shrubs in them. Maybe one property is across from a high school, that's going to tend to have more students, at the property, after hours, or like in the morning before school, during the day, lunchtime, after school. Does one building have a business that sells pizza by the slice? And, you might have these pizza plates littered across the parking lot. Or is this other building, it's mostly largely white collar or professional, like law offices, medical clinics, etc. And those all factor into the amount of litter that you will see on a property. And from experience, you learn how to price. But in the book, I show a guideline. I've got diagrams and everything, as to how you should properly walk a property and most efficiently service it, and come up with pricing. Yeah, but like, everybody works and walks at a different pace. So there's nothing, no two things are exactly the same. And people sometimes will take my pricing formula and tweak it a bit, so it works for them. And I have no problems with that, as so long as they're happy with the amount of money that they're making. But to finish answering your question, once you determine how much time it takes to service a property, if it's a daily service, for example, because your clients might ask for service, 5 days a week, or maybe 3 times a week, but your service is provided, with that frequency. You determine a price, and then you submit a monthly price. So it might be $995 a month. It could be, $1,700 a month, depending on the size of the property and the frequency of service. and you submit that price. And if when your prospect decides, okay, let's go for it, they complete the contract proposal that you submitted to them. That becomes the contract, unless they want to draw up their own contract. They send it to you, and they give you a start date, and then you're good to go. You're ready to get going at it.
For somebody first starting out, what is the goal? Like, how many customers, how many properties, and generally, how much time is spent per property? Like, how does that work out?
Well, like I say, most of these properties are small to medium size. So, you can service a property on a regular basis. Remember, we're not going in and cleaning up an accumulation of trash material. I mean, that's not the nature of our business. Our clients want their properties maintained litter free. So, we'll go in, and depending on the size of the property, it might be, you might be walking the property and finish doing your work in, 10, 15 minutes. Some other properties, maybe 30, 45 minutes. Maybe some bigger ones, might take you an hour and a half. It all varies. But, you use the proper tools, with the litter collection tools. There's all sorts of different options out there. But, we discovered a tool almost 40 years ago that we still use to this day. They've made various refinements, made it lighter, etc. But basically, the structure is still the same. And it's a lightweight steel frame with a nice wide lip. Metal lip at the bottom, so you're easily able to walk up to any type of litter material and with a hand broom sweep it into the collection tool, and off you go to the next piece of material. And once the tool is full, you just empty into a waste dumpster on site, and there you go. Move on to the next property.
I think that you've done a good job of maintaining like a specialization in litter pickup. With that, does that mean that you have to say no? Because I would imagine that when you have a good relationship with your customer, inevitably they're going to ask you, can you shovel the sidewalks of the snow? Can you do other things for us while you're here?
Right. So we kind of got ensnared in that trap a few years after we started the business. We had some clients that were really happy with the litter cleaning that we did, and they came to us and said, you know what, we've got a little bit of grass we'd like you to cut, and just a small sidewalk, and you clear the snow. And I was afraid back then not to say no. I hadn't learned back then that you can say no to your clients. And so we took on some of that work for a few years and hated it. And it spread us too thin. I mean, litter cleaning has to be done the early morning hours, but with snow removal, it's 24/7. Landscaping or cutting the grass has to be done during the day. So, we got out of that. We decided just to focus on our niche, just do the best job, do it better than anybody else. This is what we do. And we only lost a couple of accounts, but most of our clients decided to keep us on. They said, "Hey, Brian, no problem. We just thought that you might be, looking to make a few extra dollars on the side." So, we said, "Oh, we appreciate your concern and, thinking out for us. But this is the service that we specialize in, and this is the service that we do. And we don't want to get involved in any type of other janitorial work or going into washrooms or going into the buildings, to do any of the other cleaning. We do litter pick, and that's what we focus on doing."
It's an important lesson. So it pays to be a specialist and be really good at what you do.
And like I say, not trying to be a jack of all trades, but winding up being a master of none. Because I've seen a lot of, I wouldn't say competition, but other cleaning companies out there over the years that have come and gone because they offer every service. We clean carpets. We shine floors. We do windows, etc., etc. And they do a little bit of everything, but not anything really exceptionally well. And so they end up losing contracts, and then they wonder why. And so just narrow your focus. And in our case, it's just the parking lot litter cleaning.
Well, I think in observing many successful businesses, it pays to have a simplicity to one's business so that it doesn't get diluted.
Exactly. And what's the say, the KISS principle? Keep it simple, stupid. you know, it's not wrong. Life is simple. Unfortunately, humans make things more difficult. I found with this business, and here's a good example. 40 years into it, I've made a really good living doing it, and I'm sharing it with other people. It really is a simple service. You just have to be willing to go out and do it. And some people don't want to do it. I understand that. But for those of us that realize how easy it is to do, and they enjoy the early morning hours, the peace and quiet, without all that rush hour traffic, etc. Unless they're going to their full-time job after. It's a great way to be self-employed.
Brian, what's the nature of the business? Is it very competitive? Is it competitive on price? Is there a lot of turnover with customers? Like, what has that looked like over 40 years?
You know what? It's a contract business. So, contracts are won and lost. But having said that, when we get contracts, we tend to hold on to them for probably 5 to 10 years. We've got some clients. The majority of them actually we've had not necessarily the same properties, but working with the same clientele for 20, 30, even 40 years. I do a building right now still that I did 40 years ago. It's been maybe two different management companies. I think one was operated by the current property manager's uncle or whatever. But so it's pretty much been the same company. But if your clientele are happy with the service you provide and the customer service that they get from you, and the fact that they realize that you're making their job easier, they're going to continue dealing with you. And like I say, we may have done maybe a couple of properties with them, and the nature of the beast is maybe they are no longer retained to manage those properties for the owners, but they also will pick up other properties. And when they pick up those other properties, they'll reach out to the various vendors they use, whether it's us for the parking lot litter cleaning or whoever they use for snow removal or the other contractor for landscaping. And they've built a team over the years that they know that they can depend on, and reach out to everybody involved in the different services and say, let's continue doing business together.
Is it typically an annual contract?
Well, you know what? That I don't like to open up that can of worms. A lot of people seem to think that, oh, it's got to have an anniversary date. Let's make it from this to that. What we tend to do, and as a result, we've got contracts that can go 10, 15 years, 5, 10, 15 years. We start with an effective date, and that's when our prospect fills that in to make it a signed contract. We want you to start June 1st, for example. And then on our contract proposal, the end date says to 30 days written notice. And, to be realistic, any contract can be terminated by either party after 30 days. But I put that there as opposed to putting a year's date and then having to go back in a year's time and maybe try to renegotiate. So, as long as we're happy with the price that we're generating or getting for doing the work, we'll keep that contract, and both parties seem to be happy with it until such time as either one of us wants to come back and revisit for whatever reason.
In your experience, how realistic is it for somebody to start as a one-person business and to build it up to six figures annually?
Well, what I did, I mean, like I gave that example of the school teacher. He recently has done that over the course of about 2 years, but it is possible. I mean, there's other people that have bought my book that have done the same, and but it takes time. You have to recognize that. You've got to bring up the passion, patience, and persistence. It doesn't happen overnight. So to be realistic, you want to go in and get one property. You want to focus on getting one property to start with. And that's where the learning begins, because you're going to learn how to most efficiently walk that property, price it, service it. And then you're ready for the second and third and all the subsequent properties, however many you want, to build your business. But what I did when I started out, it was a side hustle, which I turned into a successful one-man operation, which I ran for about 4 years. I mean, I was content with just being a one-man operation. But then, my clients, kept after me, said, Brian, we want more of you at other places. And I recognized I couldn't be everywhere at the same time. So we brought in other people. And, that's all covered in the book too, where to find people to work for you so you can scale the business as large as you want to. But yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of different ways you can take this business.
And in supporting many different people who have bought the book, are there common struggles that they come to you with?
Yeah. And maybe they misunderstand, some of the material, or, and they think, like, one of the common things is, people seem to think that, their prospects are the individual stores or businesses that make up a property. And that's not the case. You deal with a property management company. And some people get a bit confused when they see a big signboard on the property, when they say, and they have the big company name, and maybe they recognize it could be, CB Richard Ellis or CBRE, and it says for lease. And no, you know what, that doesn't mean that they manage the property. They are simply the leasing agent. And so there's various tricks to find out, who manages the property. And then you do a little bit of digging, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's just a little bit of your time to find out who you should be contacting, who's the decision maker, to present your elevator pitch. You're not salesy. That's a good point that you brought up, because some people also say, Brian, I don't know if I can do this. I can't sell anything. I've never sold anything in my life. But in fact, everybody has sold everything. Everybody has sold things throughout their life, starting when they were a little kid. When you were 4 or 5 years old and you wanted that candy bar, or you wanted that bike, or you wanted to raise an allowance, you found a way to make your point across, to sell that reason to your mom or dad. And then when you started dating, you had to sell yourself to, the people out there. I mean, if you wanted to date, and same thing when you got your first part-time job, you were in a job interview. You had to be presentable. You learn how to look the interviewer in the face, and sit up straight, and answer questions properly. That's all selling yourself. And like I said, we're not pushing anything. It's not a hard sell. We're simply telling our prospects, we can give you a cleaner, litter-free property for less money, and we'd like to tell you or show you how. And that basically that's it. It starts a communication going along, where they get back to you with some questions, or else maybe they've had enough answers from you already, and they want to go and sign the contract.
And when doing that extra investigation on what company manages a property, some of those tips are in the book as well?
Yeah, they're in the book, and I've written the book. It's very concisely written. It's like about 65, 66 pages. I've left out the fluff. I don't want to confuse people. Just the important stuff is there. If someone thinks maybe I didn't cover enough detail here, that's why I make myself available, and my contact information is in the book. I make sure that's in there, and so we can go into more detail on whatever topics somebody wishes or chooses to discuss.
That's great. Well, I'm going to have the link inspiredmoney.fm/cleanlots for viewers and listeners to get more information about the book. I asked this of you once before. I'm going to ask you again. How do you define success?
Oh, being content with what you're doing with your life. Maybe it's, working for yourself, and some people, it's what they do after, whether it's they're donating their time, working for charities. But I feel that I've kind of combined the best of both worlds, where I've been able to create a self-employment for myself, but also feel good with what I'm doing for the community, but also helping other people start this business across the country.
Well, I love it. Thank you, Brian, for coming back onto the show and sharing your expertise, your 40 years of expertise, and really inspiring many people to go into businesses for themselves and to get outside and to really be in control of their own destiny. I think it's really fantastic, and appreciate you sharing your book and your knowledge with us.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate the opportunity to do so.
Thanks so much. We wish you continued success.
Thanks, Andrew.
What was your favorite inspired money moment? I love Brian's story from side hustle to $700,000 business. My big inspired money takeaway is to narrow your focus to be exceptional. Become exceptional in what you do and always offer exceptional client service. Brian likes to say that his business is not rocket science. Perhaps it may not be, but the fundamentals of business do apply. It's essential to know your niche, be great at what you do, and never forget that great service and communication go a long way. They're a recipe for retaining clients and increasing referrals for your new business. If you're interested in learning more, maybe you're considering starting your own litter pickup business where you live, check out Brian's manual at inspiredmoney.fm/cleanlots. I'll pin a link below. It said the best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is now. Get out there and do it. And remember, growth doesn't happen overnight. Brian's battle cry is passion, patience, and persistence. If you had a different favorite inspired money moment, let me know by posting a comment below. For watching to the end, I want to send you this Inspired Money sticker. Go to inspiredmoney.fm/Andy, send me your name and address, and I'll put this in the mail for you. Thank you so much for joining me on this mission. Have an inspired week and do something that scares you, because that's where the magic happens.